There is one guarantee for Manchester United's game against Bodo Glimt. Ruben Amorim will not be starting Evans, Casemiro and Eriksen. I don't think so anyway. We will see changes for Amorim's first game at Old Trafford, but who will start? Let me run through all the team news, give you my predicted starting 11, and my match prediction for Thursday night's Europa League clash against Bodo Glimt under the floodlights at Old Trafford. Ruben Amorim's first game at Old Trafford is on Thursday. Bodo Glimt in the Europa League. After the 1-1 draw against Ipswich, there's going to be some changes. There's no way it's going to be the same starting 11. And I'll be honest, I'll be surprised if it's the same starting 11 in any game for Ruben Amorim in the first 6 weeks or so. I think he's going to tinker and change, and I'm going to run through my starting 11 and my match prediction. Let me know yours in the comments, and please do drop a like on the video. But let's run through this one. Right, Bodo Glimt, on paper you might be like, it's an easy, it's a breeze game for United. This is how the Europa League table is looking right now. Of course, everyone's in one group, new group stages this year. Bodo Glimt are down here, 3 ahead of United. Where are they? United are there in 15th, Bodo Glimt there in 12th. Their 2 wins, I believe, came against Porto and Braga. Got a little number on Portuguese clubs. But United are favourites for this game. Spoiler alert. I know. Now, this is the latest team news from the open training session that happened on Wednesday morning. There's Ruben Amorim at Carrington. 2 players who have returned to training are Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez. Both of them getting the gauntlet there on the return to training. Now, likely thing is that neither of them are going to be match fit in time for this game against Bodo Glimt, but having both available will give Amorim more options. And I tell you what, Maguire would really suit this back 3 system as probably that central centre-back. Martinez, we'll have conversations about him. Now, Lenny Yoro didn't train. Reports have suggested that Yoro's actually on a recovery day, so he's still being eased in. Yoro doesn't look like he's going to be involved against Glimt. I thought it may well be that he could come off the bench for the last 20-30, but apparently not. And Johnny Evans wasn't involved either. And I think even if he was fit, I wouldn't be starting Johnny Evans in this game. And that's not a thing. That's an I know. Now, Kokonki was also involved in first team training. Of course, was involved in the travelling squad for Ipswich, the 16-year-old defender. Could he be involved in the matchday squad? Maybe. But let's run through the starting 11. Now, this was the team that faced Ipswich. There are going to be changes. And I think the main changes are pretty obvious. The first conversation we're having is around Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans will never play as the left-sided centre-back in that position ever again for Ruben Amorim, right? That just will not happen anymore. And the conversation I want to have is around Luke Shaw. Now, Luke Shaw was fit enough to come off the bench against Ipswich, which may well hint to the fact that he could be fit enough to start. So I'm going to get Luke Shaw in as my left-sided centre-back. That switch. It's an obvious switch, in my opinion, because Johnny Evans physically can't play that role. And I said this in my live shows. Like, there's no point. Amorim gave Evans an opportunity. I think we all knew what the answer would be, but no. Evans can't play that role. There's too much space to cover. As Gary Neville put it, that left-sided centre-back is going to have to operate as a full-back sometimes when the wing-back has gone forward. Evans can't do that. Luke Shaw, I'm bringing him in as the left-sided centre-back if he's fit to start. And if he's not fit to start, what do? I mean, I don't know who's fit. I still don't know who's fit. So I'm going to put Luke Shaw there. And in terms of other changes at the back, look, Ahmad was... Well, it's either Ahmad or Onana who were the man of the match against Ipswich. On paper, I was thinking maybe he's going to potentially try Anthony at right wing back just to see whether he can play there or not. And I think that's what some of these early games will be Amorim exploring options and understanding and getting to learn who his best players are. But I actually think Ahmad was such a good performer, and only after 3 days that Amorim will actually look at this and go, well, no, this is an opportunity for Ahmad to learn even more as that right wing back. So I'm going to keep him there, and I'm also keeping Dalot as left wing back as well. Amorim, after the game, saying that he's got to learn to understand that he's not cutting inside as an inverted fullback anymore. You're a wing back. Stay wide. So I think Dalot will keep that spot too. And again, we don't know whether Malacia's fit or not. But that's the only change I would make in the back 5. Luke Shaw coming in for Johnny Evans. In midfield, I'm definitely making changes. And one's really obvious, right? Ugarte. Ugarte comes into this midfield, and both Eriksen and Casemiro drop to that bench. There is no way that... I mean, you could conceivably see one of them start. And maybe I'll put one of them back in. We'll see. But Ugarte is definitely going to be starting this game. Came off the bench again against Ipswich. So like Luke Shaw, he's not quite fit enough to start a game, but maybe this will be a game where he starts 60 and comes off instead. Ugarte, we need him in there. We need the energy. You just can't play. The tempo is just too slow when you've got Eriksen and Casemiro together. Now, the options here for who partners Ugarte. You could have Eriksen or Casemiro. One of them. You could have Bruno dropping deeper. You could conceivably have Mason Mount dropping in as well. I think I'm going to go back on what I said there, and I think he's probably going to play Eriksen alongside Ugarte. Again, we don't know whether Mainoo's fit. If Mainoo's fit, then Mainoo starts this game, but I don't think he is, and I think he will be eased in. So that's the change I'm making in midfield, and I'm definitely making changes going forward as well. And I think this one for me feels pretty obvious. Now, if you watch my starting 11 video against Ipswich, I expected Mason Mount to start that game, but he didn't. Garnacho did, and I don't believe Garnacho offered enough inside that inside forward role. Look, Mount's greatest asset, characteristic, if you want to call it that, is his off-the-ball work rate. You could even see Mason Mount tried as a wing-back at some point. I think that's a bit of a weird one. Probably not. But Mason Mount and Bruno as the two inside forwards behind a striker, I think that will work better. Personally. All right? I want to see Mason Mount start this game. Amorim's already gone as far as to say he loves Mason Mount, so I think it's just an opportunity for him to get his chance to impress from the beginning. And up front, I'm going to bring in Rasmus Højlund for Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford scored against Ipswich, and it was a really good run, actually. It was a good move from United, and Højlund would have been in that position as well, for sure. As I said, I think these early games, if you had a pre-season, you'd learn a lot more about your squad. You wouldn't need to use these games to understand your players. Unfortunately for Amorim, he doesn't have that. So I think he needs to use these games to understand who can do what. And I think he learned from the first game against Ipswich that Evans, Casemiro and Eriksen can't all play together. Evans cannot play as a left-sided centre-back. You can't have Casemiro and Eriksen alongside each other. If you're going to play them, play one of them with somebody else. And let's see what else. He knows that he can trust Ahmad to play in that right wing-back position. So I think that's why he gets a nod here again. So I'm bringing in Shaw as left-sided centre-back, Ugarte as a central midfielder, and Mount and Højlund. So 4 changes for the team against Bodo Glimt, that faced Ipswich. My prediction for the game, I'm going to go for a 3-1 United. The intensity really is going to be like the measure of this team, I suppose, because he wants his team to press high, but for the central midfielders to press high, the centre-backs have to follow up. And if they don't and they leave the space, like Evans did with Hutchinson, Ipswich will be able to break through, and you can't do it. You can't have that disconnected press like it was under Erik ten Hag, and it's getting rid of those habits and those patterns. I'm going for a 3-1. I think there'll be some changes. That's my prediction. If Luke Shaw's not fit, you could conceivably see, I don't know, Evans start as the central centre-back, De Ligt as the right centre-back, and Mazraoui as the left centre-back. I don't know. Different options. That's my prediction for the team and the game. What's yours? Let me know in the comments below, as you always do. I'm looking forward to the game, though. Amorim's first game at Old Trafford.